Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is the series where we take privacy-enhancing technologies out of the abstract and show how they're actually being used in the real world. Welcome to Pets in Practice. Many of you have probably heard the term pets a lot lately, but for many teams, it still isn't obvious what they really do or how they fit into day-to-day business. The truth is, privacy-enhancing technologies are already all around us, and without knowing it, you're probably using them every day when you browse online, use your phone, or engage in various services, particularly if you're a customer of today's guest, Antigone Polychroniadou from JP Morgan. Companies like JP Morgan are showing just how approachable these technologies are, letting businesses analyze data without moving it, collaborate with partners they never thought they could, and run fully secure and customized AI models. In this series, we're breaking it down. We'll look at what's pushing pets into the mainstream adoption, the rise of secure AI, the pressure to get more value from data, and an ecosystem that's mature enough to make pets straightforward to roll out and use. And we'll hear from the people who are already using them today in practice and learn what worked, what didn't, and what's now possible. So if you're looking for a better, faster, and safer way to collaborate and innovate with sensitive data, you've come to the right place. Today, we're diving into a space that cannot exist without trust and security: financial services. Everyone listening in probably uses banking services each and every day, whether it's for managing your checking account, trading stocks, or just doing business. What you might not have as much visibility to, though, is that financial institutions today are just as much technology firms as they are experts in finance. And that's where today's guest comes in. I'm thrilled to welcome Antigone, an executive director at JP Morgan, the research director at JP Morgan AI Research, and the head of the Encrypted Center of Excellence. So she must be super busy with all those hats. She and her team are applying cutting-edge privacy technologies to transform how we interact with our financial service providers and one another. And today we're going to learn exactly how they're using a variety of privacy technologies to tackle real-world risks, streamline operations, and enable new business. So let's jump in. Antigone, when people think of JP Morgan, they think banking, they think the markets, they think investing. They don't always think privacy-enhancing technologies. So could you share what you and your team do and why this work is strategically important to the firm?
Yeah, thanks so much, Ron. And actually, I'm very excited to have this discussion with you. So in general, what we do in JP Morgan, we combine both research and practice for innovation. So this is our main strategy. And in general, this strategy has been successful so far. For instance, back in 2023, we had this product called PrimeMatch, which was using secure multi-part computation. And we were actually the first bank to have the first product on secure multi-part computation across the finance world. So I think that's why it's important to combine both research and practice, which has been ideal for us. And we started with markets. So we first started with privacy-preserving auctions, where the clients, which were actually hedge funds, they wanted to trade with us, but they didn't want to reveal what were their orders. So we were encrypting the orders, receiving them encrypted, and we were trying to find matches with us without really ever decrypting it. For example, if you would ask for 400 shares of the JP Morgan stock, and we only had, let's say, 200, then we will only reveal the matching, which was the 200 JP Morgan stock. So this was the first application that we had. And as I said, we started with markets and with our collaborators in quantitative research, but the firm is actually very large, okay? So JP Morgan is also one of the world's largest payments, corporate investment, commercial, consumer, and wealth management institutions. So we wanted to also bring these technologies in the firm. So that's why we created the Encrypted Center of Excellence 3 years ago, which is a consortium in the firm where we have partners from all over the businesses to actually find applications where we can do both research and put them in production, again, in collaboration with our partners from the business. So this is, in general, our goal in the firm.
Wow, that's super interesting. And that first use case that you've already brought up, you've said you've been in use now for going on 2.5 or 3 years. And I think the way you describe it brings real business value, because if you're able to protect your order, no one can front run you and the price doesn't go up. Is that basically the idea behind PrimeMatch?
Yeah, and also actually this product has involved to Atlas X2, which I will talk about later. But yeah, in general,
Okay.
markets in general, there's this hard trust, that's how I call it. They have a lot of privacy issues. They don't want to reveal like what they want to trade because of privacy issues. That's why I think really secure computation is ideal for these use cases, because really like they have a lot of this hard trust. And I think it's not a coincidence also back in 2008, there was this one time use case of actual secure computation in Denmark where they did the super bit auctions, right? When I really joined the firm, I really wanted to explore auctions because I really thought that this is something interesting where you do have privacy issues there. So I think that was an ideal use case we had at the beginning. And again, I think it was important that the business and JP Morgan really is pro innovation. So they really wanted to do something like that. There were a lot of actually challenges to do that, which we can talk about. But yeah, I think that was a good application we had at the beginning.
Interesting. And so you started with markets challenges a couple of years ago. What are the core challenges that your team is focused on solving today? How has that evolved?
Yeah, so there are also a lot of requests we get for products, but the research is still not there because secure computation is not for free. It can be expensive or it can take time. For example, in the markets, first, we have some problems that we are trying to solve now, where they concern high frequency trading, where there you cannot really wait, okay? But the application has to be really fast. So we have some sort of optimization problems there that we're trying to solve. And I can mention two more challenges where the research is still not there. For example, like in the firm, everybody is using LLMs now. Okay, so this is really something that everybody's using. And internally in the firm, we are using LLMs through OpenAI. And there are a lot of private data that we have that we cannot really now ask any type of question to the LLM, to OpenAI LLMs, right? We're working on what we call encrypted LLM. We have some published work on that, but we're still trying to push it further to make it much more faster. Okay, that's a challenge that we are trying to resolve now. We still have the fastest one, which is public, but we're still working to make it even faster. As I said, these tools don't come for free.
Of
So
course.
yeah, so this is one of the challenges that we are working on. And I'll tell you the one for the optimization. For example, we have in the markets where, so there, the optimization problem is actually quadratic optimization. So if you apply secure computation techniques, if you apply them naively, it's not going to be too fast. So we're also trying to come up with new algorithms to solve these problems. So this is something else that we are focusing on. But there are also some other products that I can talk later where we actually have done the research and now we're in the process of putting them in production. So we have both research problems that we're working on to make them realistic for production in terms of running times. And also we have done the research and now we're in the process of actually setting up the products. These are like, for example, federated learning. We are actually having it on the roadmap for a product and some other ones that we can talk later.
Great. Yeah, I would love to cover those as we go. And I understand, of course, in financial services why trust is such a critical requirement. But in what you do, why is privacy specifically and control and governance critical to the LLM challenge or the bidding and auctions or markets versus just trust?
Yeah, so actually, I'll focus again on the market. So privacy there is very important, as I said earlier, but I'll give you an example now, okay? So as I said, like Primarts is also evolved to what is called Atlas X. So there we actually actively got complaints from clients about privacy, okay? Which is very
Oh,
interesting.
okay.
Yeah, so what happened there? So there we are publishing every day an inventory to our the clients. There are big hedge funds, like 60 to 80 hedge funds, okay? List every day.
And that's an inventory of like equities or things that they could trade, basically.
Exactly. And this is the list is aggregation of all of the things we hold with the clients. Okay.
Okay.
Example, clients go long or short with us, like on different stocks, right? So they are holding the position with us. Now, very abstractly, you can think that they hold their portfolio with us, right? So we are aggregating all these different positions we have with all the clients, and this is what we publish. And the goal is that we want this inventory that we publish to be consumed from the client's application. So they see the list and then they say, okay, I want to actually get this long exposure of this many shares, okay? But because we were aggregating this information from the clients, there were these clients, which they call concentrated clients, that they hold more than 50% of the stock that we are publishing, okay? Let's say they are driving in it. For example, they publish this every day. So if this client holds most of the position, let's say today, like they buy a lot, then some other days they sell. So you can see the trend is actually this aggregate information that we give. So we received active complaints about that. So clients were coming and saying, hey, please remove our activity from this list, because even though it's anonymized, it says it's aggregated, maybe like in the street, they could still tell that maybe it's us that we are trading their stock. So we did get all of these different like complaints, which is a great example that clients do care about privacy, right?
And the core of that, though, is competition, right? And the strategic edge. And that's why they want privacy around it as a solution.
Exactly. So these hedge funds, they didn't want to reveal to the other ones what is their strategy, right? So they really care about their strategy. So that's an example where we received active complaints, right? And also, I'll give you another one where they also care a lot about privacy. Let's go back to this portfolio optimization. So how it is done now, let's say you hold a portfolio with us. So there are many different ways to optimize it, and I guess against the different dimensions. But how they do it today for sensitive portfolios, which they don't hold with us, and they want us to actually optimize it to perhaps get them as clients. Okay, so they go to all the firms and they ask to optimize it and they pick the best choice, right? So because of privacy concerns, they don't tell what is exactly their portfolio. Okay. For example, they will only say, okay, 30% of my stocks are in the tech sector, 20% is in healthcare. So they don't tell us exactly what stock and how many shares they have because of concerns. This is another application where you do see that clients care about their privacy. And you can see how secure computation can be very useful here, because you can actually encrypt your exact portfolio, right? So we cannot see anything and we can still optimize on top of it and only reveal the result. So this is like another application where you do see that clients do care a lot about privacy. And one more that I can mention too, we're also working on biometric payments.
Okay.
Firms are moving to biometric payments. So the idea is that you want to go to a store without having a credit card or a phone, and you want to pay with your palm. Okay. So there, again, like you just pay only with your palm, but imagine that there's some security breach or something, right? I cannot really change my hand, right? Because if somebody like stole your biometric information, for example, if you have a credit card, I can throw your credit card and give you another one, right? But for the biometric data, I cannot give you like a new hand, right? So it's very important to have strong privacy guarantees on this type of applications, and clients do care about their privacy when it comes to this type of application. So I do see applications where both clients or customers, they care about their privacy.
That's really interesting. And thanks for those examples. So to build off of it, and without getting too technical, you've thrown out the term federated learning and secure multi-party computation. What does that functionally mean? How are you using privacy enhancing technologies today? And what does that translate to in terms of them understanding the value? Are you telling them that you've told us about this privacy challenge, let's say around optimizing portfolios? Are you telling them that you're solving it with pets, and how? Or how do you go about that problem? Non-technically, let's say.
Yeah, so I'll tell you first about Primance, which was the first one that used secure computation. So it's an interesting story because some clients really actually cared about the technology we use.
Hmm.
And we were going and showing them demos about like technology. So they want to have a deep dive to find out like what the code does and everything. They were very interested to see what the code does and if they should trust, right? So we had a lot of companies, again, the clients were hedge funds, right? Where they really wanted deep dives. They were interestingly also like some other companies that they didn't want thorough deep dives, but they wanted certification of like security experts and all of that. So it was based on the different companies. So they had different asks, but all of them, they were asking to see some proof the security, or either they had like people to check, or they were asking for certification from other people, which is something that we did. So they were actively seeking to see like what are these technologies. And to say the truth, there was a big obstacle there. They were asking, give us some examples in the industry that they have used that. and there was nothing. So that was very hard to build the trust to say, hey, this tool has not deployed before, but trust us that it's secure. So that was a big challenge because we didn't have an example for that. So now that we have the example of Primats and AtlasX, I see that it's much easier because we refer to these examples and I see that they trust more. Clients, they are aware that these things happening behind the scenes, at least in the markets, because these are the applications that I spoke about. And also like for like consumers, for example, the tools we have in the markets, as I said, 60 to 80 firms, right? Hedge funds. I think what will make a bigger difference is when we have the biometric payments, this will go to millions of clients, customers that do payments in JP Morgan. So I think there it will be actually more known that we're using pets. So I'm looking forward to that so that more people will become aware of these technologies.
That's interesting. And with hedge funds, they're obviously known for having some pretty intelligent people. So you can communicate what pets are to them at a deeper level and go into the code and maybe even the math. How would you think about doing that, or how are you thinking about doing that with, let's say, less technologically knowing consumers and customers? Have you run into that before?
Yeah, so we are thinking about that, actually, how we are going to do that. Since, as I said, we're going to roll out these biometric payments. So we will see how it goes. But yeah, we will advertise it. We'll advertise the security guarantees that the solution provides compared to the competitors, because there are competitors that they use biometric payments without security. We are planning to do that, but yeah, we will see how it goes this year when it's being used. But yeah, we have plans to educate, but we will have to see the result.
That's really interesting. And one of my other discussions with a product manager at Google. And actually, a lot of Google products use privacy enhancing technologies and they're in the hands of consumers, right? So one of them that I use a lot is Google Maps, and I never knew that there were privacy enhancing technologies in that. And Google kind of made a conscious decision after doing a lot of market research not to really communicate it so much at a technical level because it got confusing and scary to people, which I can understand. But Google versus, let's say, a bank like JP Morgan that needs to be, let's say, trusted in a different way, I can see how you might be thinking about that approach a little bit differently than like a consumer services firm, if you will.
Yeah, and I think how we also view it is that I think we want to educate the users. Part of our goal is to start using these technologies more. So I think it's good to start educating the crowds that these technologies are there so that at some point we want to make them mainstream. So I think it's important to bring the awareness and educate them, right?
Yeah, of course. Going to the business benefits of it, I think in the examples you gave around Prime Match and Atlas X and even portfolio optimization, it's clear what the value is for the customer. So for the hedge fund, let's say. How is JP Morgan thinking about the business value of pets for yourselves? Is it driving new business? Is it reducing costs? Is it something else? What's the strategic value of pets for you?
So in general, for example, I will speak about Atlas X. So it enables actually this an application that wouldn't be possible without privacy, because as I said, clients wanted to remove their positions from that application, and this actually now enables this application. So without this differential privacy, we wouldn't be able to offer this. And just to give you a sense of numbers, for example, in AtlasX, the inventory that we generate with differential privacy is actually billions every day. And in
Wow.
general, and how much is actually the benefit through the year? It's actually millions because a lot of it is being consumed, right? So it does give business value to the business. And then if we forget about the revenue, the important thing is that it also enables it because they wouldn't be able to do this without privacy. So I think this is the important thing.
Super interesting. And now putting on your algo crypt hat on and your research hat on, where do you see pets evolving over the next few years? You mentioned LLMs, which I know a lot of organizations and academics are thinking about. But where do you see things going? And which use cases do you think are going to quietly, let's say, become mainstream? You've mentioned payments as one and maybe LLMs as another. Are those the two main ones, or do you see a whole other smattering of applications?
Actually, I'll tell you the one that I do think requires secure computation. We are talking about AI agents a lot recently, right? Everybody wants to use AI agents, and even like different AI agents talking to other AI agents. So if you think about this is like secure multi-part computation, different parties talking to each other. But there's a difference here. The AI agents are probabilistic. They are not deterministic. So you can never guarantee how they're going to act on the information that you give them. I usually use this example. So when I was playing with an LLM, I was asking, wait, this is my password. Please keep it secret and don't give it to anybody else, not even myself. Okay, this is what I asked the LLM to do. And then I asked again and actually give him the password. And I had to repeat, hey, please don't reveal my password. And then said, okay. Then I asked, it didn't give it. But then I started asking, how many characters and numbers my password has? It told me. Then I asked, is the first letter A? They said yes. So I'm just saying, like, I had to go like through all of this different like training with the LLM to actually teach it how to not reveal my password. And still, this is not bulletproof, right? Maybe somebody else will come up with another question to reveal my password, right? So these LLMs don't keep a secret, and you cannot really guarantee they will keep a secret if you don't do anything about that. And even more, so if they have some secret information, and that when they interact with other agents, they could transfer this information to them, right? Even if they are not allowed to transfer this information. So there's a lot of opportunity there because I definitely view it as really like this is an application where secure computation can shine because people do want to use AI agents. Even in e-commerce now, they are planning to actually have agents do your
shopping and things like that. Yeah.
All that. But these agents can make mistakes. They can charge another card, like they can do all of these different things. So I think it's important. And we started like scratching the surface of this problem. We have some work called Agent Crypt. Again, it's research. I think there's so many interesting questions there because definitely LLMs cannot keep secrets. And any AI agent, like they are not probabilistic, and even actually they are probabilistic and they're not deterministic. And another thing too, like even if you force them to execute some code, again, how do they execute that code? So this is a great application, knowledge proofs, for instance. So I definitely think the community should put more effort combining secure computation and AI agents, because I think that can be an application where secure computation can really shine, actually. So this is
Yeah, for what it's worth, from a duality perspective, we've been doing a lot around agentic AI and privacy, but maybe a funny story to share with you that because to your point, you can easily manipulate generative AI models and agentic AI. I don't know if you saw the Wall Street Journal story from a few weeks ago. They installed a Gen AI enabled vending machine in the office. Did you see this? And yeah, they were able to convince it that it was a vending machine in the Soviet Union in Soviet times and it should give everything for free. And so they turned the vending machine into sort of like a communist utopia and everyone was getting free stuff out of it. Not exactly password sharing, but to your point, you can't guarantee and you can't know exactly what an AI model is going to do. And so I think that's a really interesting future-looking need that you're identifying.
You need some security wrapper around. So what we're trying to do, we're trying to put a security wrapper that is always executed and you check that it correctly. So when it goes to the other agents, the agents can actually only receive the information if they are supposed to. Think of some encryption, identity-based encryption, attribute-based encryption, and all of that. Yeah, by the way, which is important, is that how can you also trust LLMs in general about the truth, right? For example, I don't know, 10 years from now, they will start telling you something about, I don't know, history, right? Or they can rewrite history. So how can you read that what they're saying is true if you don't have the reference? So that's why I think, for example, maybe you could also combine AI agents with some sort of like blockchain and ledger where you do keep the truth somewhere so that you can keep control of that. So it can easily get out of control. So there are many privacy issues with AI and specifically AI agents.
Yeah, and what you're identifying isn't just a privacy issue, it's a security issue, it's a trust issue, it's an attestation issue, all in one, which to your point is like a perfect storm of privacy technologies. So yeah, that's an interesting one. And with that future looking view, and also with your history and experience in implementing privacy technologies, for organizations that are looking for innovation or growth or driving new business, exactly as you've helped with at JP Morgan, how can pets help them and what advice would you offer?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question, which I learned through the experience that I acquired here. So I think it's not only the requirement of privacy. I think we should not just say this is a privacy problem, that's why you need to use secure computation or any other pets. So I think the important is to also, apart from privacy, to also show what's the benefit, because they already solving the issues with privacy with trusted third parties. Okay. So because of this privacy issues, they send their data to trusted third parties, they do the computation and you get back the answer, right? I'll give you an example. So some years ago, we were trying to do this bad beneficiary application, which was the following. So all the different banks, they mark bad beneficiaries that committed some sort of fraud, right? So each different bank has their own bad beneficiary list, right? And usually what the fraudsters do, let's say they executed some fraudulent change, they will go to another bank after with the same account. But if the banks actually share the list of bad beneficiaries, they wouldn't be able to do that. And we were saying, okay, that's an ideal use case for secure computation where they can run actually a private set union to find the common bad beneficiaries across the banks, right? And we're starting talking to them in the business about that. But it turned out that they're actually vendors where they are trusted, where all the banks submit their bad beneficiaries to this trusted party. And the trusted party gives finds the matches. So they all trust this party to do that. And they pay actually some fees also to use this service. So the thing is that we had to convince them that if you actually do it in a private way, you will actually get more benefit in the sense will you find more bad beneficiaries. So maybe the banks don't trust truly this trusted third party, so they don't send all their bad beneficiaries. So you had to show some extra value because today there are some solutions that use a trusted third party. So I noticed that it's not just to tell them, hey, it's a privacy issue because you use a trusted third party. You also need to show them an extra value, like what you will get more combining together more quality data. So I think that's something that I noticed that for applications that exist already and they use a trusted third party, you don't need to show only that it's a privacy issue. You need to show them something more to convince them that this has to change. And it makes sense because that's how they are used to, right? This is
Of course.
and that's how they do it today. So you need to tell them, apart from privacy, what else they can gain from this aggregation, right?
What about if you have a challenge that's unsolved, right? So maybe the prime match challenge was unsolved, let's say. How do you think about starting on the path of pets if you don't know about it? You're a genius mathematician and you have a whole team at JP Morgan of genius mathematicians. So what about businesses that might not have the same resources? How would you suggest they think about it?
Yeah, so that's another thing is that to find an application that actually is not even solved with a trusted third party, as you're saying, right? So it's not solved. So you want to enable something that was not done before. So there you have to show them the benefit, right? For example, for the prime match, it was that, okay, if you don't participate in this, you will get no matches, so you will get no benefit. So there it was easier to show that there's a benefit of doing something like that. So you really need to find a way to show them what will be the benefit. Again, privacy issue, okay, but also show
Yep.
them how much revenue they will also get from this privacy application, right? Because if you would say, okay, I had these privacy issues, I cannot do this application, but what if I will do it? How much will be the revenue? So this is something that we were trying to do when we had these applications, right?
So basically, you're saying go back to basics, right? Show business value first, and then the solution will come if you could show that there's value to doing it, right?
Yeah, I think it's important to show the value first
Hmm.
before you actually have the solution. Uh,
Interesting. Okay.
although, as I said earlier, so also for some tools, it also takes some time for the right time for federated learning. We started doing research on it 4 years ago. The algorithms that they used behind federated learning, actually, they were not so efficient. So we did a lot of research to improve the algorithms. But when I would talk to the business 4 years ago about federated learning, I couldn't find an application. Okay. They were saying, okay, it was nice to have, but we don't have an application at the moment.
Mhm.
Actually, I see that they are very interested, and I think this is because the regulations changed, which is very important. So actually,
Mhm.
have in pilot now a use case where you cannot send data from a different location to another location due to regulations, and there they care a lot now about federated learning. So sometimes also depends on the situation. 5 years ago, something didn't work, but now actually it works because privacy settings change and people cannot do what they were supposed to, what they were doing earlier. So something that was enabled earlier. Now it's not enabled anymore.
The tech is there, but also now there's an urgency driver because, of regulatory change in this case, for instance.
Exactly. So that can also be something to look for to find opportunities.
With that, I think it's a great segue to my last question. You've given a lot of hints, biometrics for payments and encrypted LLMs and something mysterious about federated learning. Could you share a little bit about where you're headed and what you plan to explore next, if you haven't already?
Yeah, so actually for federated learning, the use case is fraud detection. So
Okay.
that's we're trying to have as a product, which is in pilot now. And as I said, like we also have the biometric payments that we are also trying to roll out. I'll tell you another one that I didn't talk about that we also have a pilot with the business. This is about checking fairness of AI models. So for instance, the firm and also other firms, usually they buy models from different companies. Think of it of Experian and FICO, right? Think about those applications. So imagine that I want to use your model and you are actually claiming that, oh, my model is fair. So how do I check that your model is fair before I buy it, right? And if I don't, show me your model, right? So there we are using zero knowledge proofs where the vendor can prove that their model is fair under some specific definitions of fairness using zero knowledge. So they can prove that the model is fair without really showing us the model. So this is,
Mm-hmm.
we also have a pilot. And in general, this can be extended to more models. And this verification of models in general can also be combined with AI agents, as I was telling you earlier, right? How do you check that an AI agent does the right code that it's supposed to do, right? Let's say you download an AI agent and you start running it. This agent might actually download all your private data from your computer and all of that. So you need to check what is the code before you run it. So there are also all of these verification applications that have to be done for that. So this is something that we are actively looking at. And then another thing that I can mention, which I didn't mention at all, which requires still some research, is that also the firm wants to move to post-quantum primitives. And in general, they want to use the threshold signatures for the blockchain. And there we actually had the first research work that did actually the first knee standardized threshold signature. But again, we need to make it faster. So this is something that we are actively looking at. So the firm is interested in post-quantum primitives. And the one that I want to mention in general, as I said earlier, right? So AI agents, as I told you earlier, I do believe that more researchers should actually pay attention and firms like you, which is great. So I think we really have to focus also on AI agents because I think that's the time because firms do want to use AI agents. So I think if it is done correctly from the beginning, that would be great because trying to change things later might be harder. So I think it's important to work on that problem and we are working actively on this problem too.
Amazing. Antigone, this has been a riveting conversation. I think we've covered so much ground. We've covered 3, 4, 5 years of research and pilots and production, and also the future on generative AI, agentic AI, blockchain. This has been a really interesting conversation for me. I really appreciate it. I know our viewers are going to love it as well. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm very glad that you started this initiative. It's great. And as I said earlier, more people should know about this technology. So any form of this, is this called vidcast? Yeah, it's great to have.
Let's shout it from the rooftops. Thank you. Have a great day. Thanks everyone for joining.